In the stillness of night, a crime shatters the peace, leaving a community in turmoil and the nation in shock. We're thrust into a narrative that's as perplexing as it is tragic, the case of Bryan Kohberger. But at the heart of this saga lies a sliver of hope for truth: DNA evidence, the silent witness in the courtroom of justice. DNA, the very essence of our identity, has become the linchpin in solving the most intricate of crimes. It's the invisible trail that leads detectives out of the labyrinth of dead ends and into the light of clarity and resolution. Yet, in the twisting tale of Bryan Kohberger, this beacon of truth is shrouded in a mist of doubt. What if the DNA evidence we've come to rely on was not a beacon at all, but a manipulated mirage? What if the very thing that's supposed to bring us certainty became a tool for deception? In this series, we're diving deep into the abyss where science and suspicion collide. We'll dissect the role of DNA in the justice system, the perplexing questions surrounding its use in Kohberger's case, and the unnerving possibility of innocence ensnared by falsehood. Hey everyone, I'm Zaid, and like you, I'm drawn to the enigma of true crime. Together, we'll navigate the complex web of the Kohberger case, scrutinize the DNA evidence, and confront the question that haunts us: could a wrongful narrative be woven from strands of truth? Stay with me as we unravel this case thread by thread. If you're ready for a journey into the heart of a modern-day mystery, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. Our quest for the truth starts now. In the intricate web of a true crime saga, every character has a backstory, a prelude that often remains untold. Today, we're shedding light on Bryan Kohberger, the man thrust into the limelight under the gravest of circumstances. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, a name that has echoed through the media, was once just another individual pursuing his academic ambitions. At 28 years old, he found himself immersed in the study of criminology, a doctoral student navigating the rigorous world of criminal justice. His academic journey led him to Washington State University, where he delved deep into the realms of law and order. But it was in the quiet town of Moscow, Idaho, where his life took an unforeseen turn. It was here that a series of tragic events unfolded, events that would soon see Kohberger's name splashed across headlines as the prime suspect. The path from a student to a suspect is fraught with questions and uncertainties. For Kohberger, it began with his arrest in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, on charges that would link him to an unspeakable crime. As the investigation unfolded, pieces of evidence began to form a narrative that placed Kohberger at the center of a criminal investigation. Friends, as we peel back the layers of Bryan Kohberger's life before the case, we strive to present a picture of the man before the accusation. Who was Bryan Kohberger before fate cast him in a role that would become the subject of global scrutiny? Join me as we explore the life of Bryan Kohberger before the case, piecing together the narrative of a man who has become the subject of intense debate and speculation. Under the cloak of a dark Idaho sky, a crime that would capture the nation's attention unfolded. On November 13, 2022, the tranquility of a college town was shattered. Today, we delve into the details of that fateful night, the lives it touched, and the evidence that emerged. In the heart of Moscow, Idaho, 4 University of Idaho students' lives were tragically cut short. The victims, young and full of potential, found their futures abruptly and brutally ended. The community reeled in horror as the news broke, and a pressing question hung in the air: who could commit such an act? The initial evidence was sparse, a jigsaw puzzle with too many missing pieces. Yet, as investigators combed through the scene, a narrative began to form. Cell phone records placed a suspect's phone near the crime scene, and eyewitness accounts added layers to the emerging picture. Amidst the collection of clues, DNA evidence became a cornerstone. It was this silent witness that led authorities to Bryan Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student. His arrest in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, on first-degree murder charges marked a turning point in the case. Viewers, as we piece together the fragments of that night, we are reminded of the delicate threads that connect us all. The evidence we discuss is not just data. It represents a night of loss, a community's heartbreak, and the pursuit of justice. In this section, we've explored the initial findings that set the stage for an arrest. We've looked at the evidence as it was presented and began to unravel the complex tapestry of this case. In the early hours of a December morning, a twist in the tale emerged as far away as Monroe County, Pennsylvania. We're about to unfold the chapter where Bryan Kohberger's world turned upside down. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology graduate student, found himself in handcuffs, facing first-degree murder charges. The arrest warrant, issued by the Moscow, Idaho Police Department, was the culmination of a meticulous investigation that spanned across state lines. The evidence that led to this moment was a tapestry woven from DNA traces, cell phone records, and the silent testimony of a white Hyundai Elantra. It was a combination of high-tech forensic science and old-fashioned detective work that pinpointed Kohberger as the suspect. As the news of the arrest broke, the public reaction was a mix of relief and disbelief. Communities that had been gripped by fear now looked towards a process of healing and justice. Yet, for some, skepticism lingered, questioning the narrative that was rapidly unfolding. Friends, the arrest of Bryan Kohberger has opened a Pandora's box of debates and discussions. It's a moment that reminds us of the power of evidence and the weight of accusation. As we dissect the details of Kohberger's arrest, we are confronted with the stark realities of criminal justice and the fine line between presumption of innocence and the quest for truth. In this section, we've navigated through the intricate details of the arrest, the DNA evidence that played a pivotal role, and the waves it created across the nation. The story is far from over, and as we continue, we seek to understand the implications of this pivotal moment. DNA, the blueprint of life, has become the silent witness in the courtroom. In this section, we unravel the science behind DNA evidence and its role in identifying suspects in criminal cases. Every cell in our body carries DNA, a unique genetic code that distinguishes each one of us from another. In the realm of criminal justice, this code acts as a molecular fingerprint. When a crime is committed, perpetrators can leave behind traces of their DNA through skin cells, hair, blood, or other bodily fluids. Forensic experts collect these samples and perform DNA profiling, a process that analyzes specific regions of the DNA strand known as markers. These markers are compared against samples from suspects, and a match can significantly narrow down the suspect pool. DNA profiling has revolutionized the way crimes are solved, turning the tiniest speck of biological material into a lead that can crack open a case. It's not about finding an exact match to a single individual, but rather it's about probabilities. The more markers that match, the less likely the DNA belongs to someone else. However, DNA evidence is not infallible. It requires meticulous collection, preservation, and analysis. A single mistake can lead to contamination or misinterpretation. And while DNA can be a powerful tool for conviction, it has also been the key to exonerating the wrongly accused. In the case of Bryan Kohberger, DNA evidence played a pivotal role. But as we will see in the following sections, the interpretation of this evidence is where the story becomes complex. In the labyrinth of criminal investigations, the truth can sometimes be as elusive as a shadow in the night. In this section, we delve into the murky waters of the framing theory and how DNA, the very thread of our being, could potentially be manipulated to weave a narrative of guilt. Imagine a scenario where DNA evidence, considered the gold standard in forensic science, is not the irrefutable proof of presence we believe it to be. What if it's a pawn in a larger game, a game where the stakes are freedom and justice? Forensic experts tell us that DNA profiling involves comparing specific markers in the genetic material found at the scene with that of a suspect. But what happens when the integrity of this process is questioned? When the selection of markers is not random nor comprehensive, but curated to match a predetermined suspect? This is where the concept of duper's delight comes into play. It's a term used to describe the perverse joy someone might feel when successfully deceiving others. In the context of a criminal case, it's the chilling satisfaction derived from manipulating evidence to frame an individual. Friends, the idea that someone could be framed with their own DNA is a narrative straight out of a crime thriller. It challenges our trust in the system and raises a haunting question. How many have been ensnared by a web of deceit, their innocence obscured by a facade of false evidence? In the Bryan Kohberger case, some argue that the DNA evidence presented was a masterclass in manipulation, a deliberate act to ensure his DNA could not be excluded. They claim that the absence of certain markers, which could have proven his innocence, was no oversight but a calculated omission. History has often been a silent witness to the fallibility of human endeavors, and forensic science is no exception. In this section, we'll take a step back in time to examine cases where the sanctity of forensic evidence was compromised, and draw parallels to the allegations of foul play in the Bryan Kohberger case. Consider the infamous Ford Heights 4, where 4 men were wrongfully convicted based on flawed evidence, only to be exonerated after 17 years, leading to a historic $36 million settlement, or the wrongful convictions overturned by DNA exonerations, which highlighted the misuse of forensic serology and microscopic hair analysis. These historical missteps in forensic science raise a specter of doubt. They remind us that the path to justice can be tainted by human error, misconduct, or even deliberate tampering. In the case of Bryan Kohberger, some argue that the DNA evidence could have been subject to similar manipulation. Was there a forensic foul play at work? Did the investigators, knowingly or unknowingly, engage in witness tampering, fabricate evidence, or conceal exculpatory evidence? These are not just plot points in a crime drama but real-life possibilities that have occurred in our justice system. Friends, as we sift through the evidence presented in Kohberger's case, we must ask ourselves, are we witnessing a repeat of history? Is the chain of custody, the very backbone of forensic integrity, being upheld, or has it been compromised? As we continue to explore the depths of this case, let's keep in mind the lessons of the past. For in the quest for truth, it is not just the evidence that speaks, but the silence of the ignored and the whispers of the wrong. In the shadow of doubt cast by theories of framing and evidence tampering, there exists a bastion of trust in the forensic process. In this section, we explore the counterarguments to the notion of framing, shedding light on the rigorous standards and protocols that underpin forensic science. The foundation of forensic DNA analysis is built on a bedrock of scientific rigor. It's a discipline that has evolved over decades, with checks and balances designed to prevent the very mishaps that framing theories suggest. Experts in the field argue that while no system is infallible, the occurrence of deliberate DNA evidence tampering is exceptionally rare. They point to the stringent accreditation of labs, peer reviews, and the requirement for reproducibility of results as safeguards against such conspiracy. Moreover, the legal system's scrutiny of DNA evidence is intense. The admissibility of such evidence is contingent upon a thorough vetting process, where the provenance and integrity of samples are meticulously examined. Consider this: every piece of forensic evidence used in court must withstand the fiery gauntlet of legal challenges. Defense attorneys, independent experts, and the accused have opportunities to contest the evidence. The notion that a vast conspiracy could bypass all these layers of defense seems, to many, far-fetched. While we must remain vigilant against errors and misconduct, it's also crucial to acknowledge the robustness of the forensic framework. In the case of Bryan Kohberger, the counterarguments ask us to trust in the science that has been the cornerstone of justice for countless cases. As we navigate the murky waters of the Kohberger case, it's not just the experts who weigh in. The voice of the community echoes loudly, reflecting a spectrum of thoughts and theories. Let's hear some of the perspectives shared by you, the viewers, from previous videos and across social media platforms. From skepticism about the DNA evidence to outright disbelief in the charges, your comments showcase a diverse range of opinion. Justice Seeker writes, "We must look at all evidence critically," while Truth Advocate reminds us, "Innocent until proven guilty is the cornerstone of our justice system." In this digital age, the collective voice is powerful. It shapes narratives and sometimes even sways investigations. Your engagement is vital, and it's clear that this case has struck a chord with many. As we conclude, we reflect on the journey through the complex layers of the Bryan Kohberger case. We've delved into the DNA evidence, the framing theory, and the counterarguments, all while keeping a pulse on the community's heartbeat. The importance of questioning, understanding, and critically examining evidence cannot be overstated. It is the essence of not just criminal justice, but of our engagement with the world around us. I invite you, the viewers, to continue this conversation. Share your thoughts, your theories, and your insights. What do you believe? Where do you stand? And what questions still linger in your mind? Remember, each voice adds to the chorus that seeks truth and justice. So, comment below, engage with one another, and let's keep this dialogue alive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and never settle for the surface story. This is Zaid, signing off.